Welcome. So today I'm going to be teaching you how to successfully manage or run a program. So without further ado, let's get into it. How to uncover insights and successfully run any program or project. When you're running a program, project, or major initiative, what are the top reasons it may fail? A lot of the time, when it comes down to it, it's communication, right? It's pretty simple. That can show up in different ways. Unclear documentation, misalignment between teams, ambiguous leadership, delayed status updates, or cross-functional communication that does not reach the right people at the right time. So once that happens, the delay does not stay isolated. It starts to affect the entire program. So how do you address this without creating more conflict, adding more meetings? Think about it. No one has time for it, or relying on even more disconnected documentation or mechanisms. You start with the root cause, like I mentioned before, communication. So point is, I created a mechanism or a document. Honestly, we'll stick with mechanism because that's the proper term for it. It provides clear insight into each initiative contributing to a program. It allows teams to track key information in one place, including ownership, current status, confidence level, whether action is needed, and the necessary next steps. So I think this is especially important because, in my previous experience, I joined an organization, quite a big organization, and in the middle of an active program, when you join midstream, it can be difficult to quickly understand which teams are involved, where the right documentation lives, who owns part of the process, and how each team workflow connects to the larger goal, and not just I'll edit this part out, but as well as even getting the access to the documents. Certain times some people are on vacation, or you have to wait specifically for them to accept the clearance and say, oh right, we forgot to get you included into this document, so that way you're able to work on this file, or that way you're able to see the necessary information to translate it into what you need to do. So in that way, I think having one document itself eliminates a lot of that, a lot of the friction when it comes to making sure that everybody is aligned and understanding what the goal is, especially in certain aspects of the program. So that brings me to kind of just saying, instead of, or not even kind of, but that just brings me to say, instead of needing to chase multiple people, request access as I actually just said, or schedule extra meetings to understand the current state. This mechanism creates a single place for clarity. It helps answer the questions that matter. Who owns this initiative? What is the current status? How confident are we? Is there a risk? Does anyone need to take action? And what are the next steps? Also, too, it lets you know whether something has been escalated or not, and what the outcome of the escalation, how long it took for the escalation to be at least successful. So, the purpose is not to create another tedious process. The purpose is to make cross-functional communication and ownership easier to understand, easier to track, and easier to act on. So, excuse me. When teams have clear visibility, they can make better decisions, reduce misalignment, and improve the overall success of the program, project, initiative, or even a personal project itself. A lot of people don't realize it, but sometimes program or project management is something that you could be doing right now. It may, involve less stakeholders sometimes. When you think about planning a wedding, you have your stakeholders, you have your family, you have your partner, anyone that's involved in that process. Cross-functional communication and ownership should not feel tedious. It should be clear, aligned, and focused on helping every team move toward the same goal. So, so that's honestly how you run a successful program or project or initiative itself. When it comes to, there's of course some variables that you can't predict, or some variables that may require extra attention. But as long as everything stays aligned, then it will make the goal easier to attain, or the program itself much easier to define success for. If you're interested in taking a look at this demo that I created, or the platform itself, just let me know in the comments, or just send me an email, and then we can go ahead and work something out and get you set up. Other than that, take care. Thanks for tuning in.